Hey guys, Gabriel from Tomoyo, and today I have another video for you. This time I believe it's the first Kotobukiya figure that I am reviewing on my channel, and also one of the very few female reviews I do, not really by choice, I just seem to buy mostly male figures. So let's get right into it. This is a Clannad figure, and it's Tomoyo. So let's take a quick look at the box before we take a look at the figure itself. So on the front we have this nice green colouring. As you'll probably tell straight away, the box is a bit beaten up. It was second hand I bought from a guy down in London. So up front we have a picture of her. This big window, 1/6 scale pre-painted. The Kotobukiya logo down there. And a holographic sticker up there. Nothing much going on this side, just 4 leaves logo. Exact same thing on the other side. And on the back we have another full picture of her, the Clannad name, and 4 leaves branding again. Up top, pretty much a shrunk down version of the front. And we've got another foil sticker on the bottom. So this is, as I've said before, this is a 1/6 Kotobukiya school uniform version of the character. There's also a sort of casual wear version where she's wearing an apron and slippers and carrying a cooking pot. It was originally released in 2011 but had a re-release in 2015. So here she is, and there's actually a few accessories you get with this piece. So let's run through those quickly. We get 2 separate pairs of glasses in slightly different poses with the arms. And the other accessory is this book, which is just simple blue. White pages, no text or anything on it. And that goes in her other hand. So here she is with her accessories, and those glasses are actually a bit of a pain to get sort of balanced in the hand so they don't just fall into the gap. You have to really get them between those fingers. So I think it's a really nice, well put together piece. I mean, it looks pretty good like this. It's sort of a more an aggressive version to her character, because obviously she's a girl and can take care of herself. So let's start from top to bottom. So down below we have this sort of mega house style peg she's almost up on, sort of bring her up into her pose. So down below we have this mega house style peg sort of bringing her up into this pose she's in, and I really don't like this base just because I think it's kind of like a plinth you'd get on a big resin statue, but the bright pink and the heart shimmering, I think it's just kind of reminds me of some sort of Barbie kind of rip-off thing. The sort of thing you'd get in a cheap toy store, so I'm not really a big fan of that. I would much prefer just a clear or a flat black base, but this is to me one of the only Tomoyo statues you can buy, so it's one of the things you just kind of have to deal with. But as we move up we can see some really nice shading in the shoes, sort of the different coloured bands there. And it's very limited, but there is sculpting there in the sock with some shading near the bottom and the top of the seams. Move up into her legs, minimal sculpt there going into her skirt. Again, quite simple colouring there. I would have liked to see maybe a bit more depth, but there is some dark within each of the pleats of the skirt. There is some darkness put in there. So moving up further we have a bit more sculpting going on in the limited motion within the clothing, and some nice subtle shading. Nothing too in your face though. I think this logo, I assume, is a decal. I don't think this is painted at all, but it looks good. It doesn't look like a decal. This is done really clean with our text here. I think that's done exceptionally well. And then you can see while we're up here, our lines here on both her sleeve and her collar. There's no bleed there. There's no overlap. Those are painted in really well. So I'm impressed by them. Now you'll notice on mine, although I'm not going on camera, the reason I bricked this up on eBay and I got quite a good price on it was there's some slight cosmetic damage on her hair here, but from the angle you display her on, I think it's pretty much non-existent. You can just about see it, but if you're not looking for it, I don't think you can notice it, so that's why I picked this one up cheap. So turning around, we'll take a look at her hair. I think her hair is really well done. It's kind of, Clannad has that kind of sort of out there with some of the hair. It's sort of ridiculously long, but there's some nice sculpting and shape done to each of his hair strands, and again some very subtle darker shading going into the lighter shading. But obviously Clannad doesn't have an overly complex sort of overdone art style. It's quite simple, almost watercolory kind of thing going on, but it is quite basic, and that's inherently reflected in the shading and painting of this figure, I think. Again, a hairband is done really well. There's no bleed there. You can just about see her ear there. So the sculpting in the hair I'm quite impressed with. No complaints there whatsoever. Again, moving around to her hands, you can see she has her nails painted there in a very subtle pink, and they are actually sculpted quite well. Her face has obviously got those trademark eyes, nice smile to it. I think it's quite a nice portrait. It's quite a nice figure to look at, sort of uplifting almost. So my major first impressions is it's quite a large piece, and aside from the base, I don't have anything too big to sort of complain about. So let's move on to some measuring up and compare it to some other figures. So her height is just under a foot at about 11.6 inches, which is about 29.5 centimeters. Her widest point is definitely the base, which is just over 6 inches, which is about 15 centimeters. Her depth is probably again the base. Maybe her hair will just spread over there near its highest point there, but I think it's the edge of base, which is about 4 inches, which is about 10 centimeters. So here she is on a depth short by herself, and as you can see, for a female 1/6, she does have quite a lot of presence and quite a lot of height and width. Here she is next to 1/8 Jotaro. She is next to 1/6 Jotaro, and as you can see, they're almost the same height, which I think is quite questionable considering how tall Jotaro is, and the fact that Tomoyo is a female average school student compared to a Joestar, so I think the scale is a bit on the large side here for a 1/6 scale. So outside of this sort of plasticky, I think cheap looking base, I don't really have anything negative to say about the figure. I think the painting and shading reflects Clannad as an anime and the art style quite well, although as a figure I would like to see some deeper, more high detailed to the shading, the art and the painting, but to reflect the anime and to be true to the character, I think it's done a really good job. All the lines are dead clean. Example, our pocket logo here is done really well. The eye decals, the face, the hair especially, I think is all done really well. The shading on the skin, on the knees and on the socks, and especially on the shoes, I think the shoes in particular is done really great. There isn't really any negatives. I think it's a really good interpretation of a character and a really good figure, and you can get it at quite a reasonable price. The accessories are a nice touch. I'm not 100% do or die on them. I think you could leave them off, although his hand's a bit unnatural to not be holding something. Overall, I'm quite happy with the figure. I think maybe I would like to see a more badass version of the character as part of her personality. I'd probably buy a figure with her in a more badass pose, but I think this is a really nice addition to the collection. But I think with the colouring, the level of the paint, the sculptor, they've captured a smile and sort of a genuine sort of, I'd say, day-to-day pose, almost if she's catching someone in the hallway, is a really good job. And outside the base, with the great shading and the clean painting, nothing to complain about. I think this is quite a solid piece, and it's quite a large piece too, so if you can find it at a decent price point, I'd pick it up. There aren't many decent Clannad figures out there, and I think if you enjoy the series as much as I did, and you want a figure, Kotobukiya is probably the way to go. I mean, they do lots of good work, and I think this is just another example of it. Although shading may be a bit lacking, the base may be a bit basic, I think it's a solid piece. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.